Gorgeous day in the Minnesota Northwoods.
Yeah, I got one.
Well, that's our second bird of the day. We're about 45 minutes into the hunt. Not a bad job. Blaze pointed this one on the side of the trail, and he flew into the open. Well, it's the third grouse of the year. Good girl, Cookie. Good girl. Alright. That's a running bird. Cut it off. Down there. Yes. Good job. Good job. Good job. There we go. That's a 1-year-old rooster. 2-year-old, I should say, last year. It's going to be loose here. It's going to be loose. Today I'm going to give you some feedback on my new shotgun. It's the Retay Masai Mara 12 gauge, 26 inch, and I have a true lock improved cylinder choke. So this is my first year with this gun. Heard a lot of good news, good reviews on it. Particularly, there's one that's been really helpful is from Randy Wakeman. I usually watch his reviews and read his write-ups, and he does a pretty good job with it. I've also, with most of my guns, I usually use a leather padded stock on it. And this one is from the company called Turbon. Actually pretty good quality, if you ask me, and for a very, very good price. Just look on Amazon, you can find it. So, how did it perform? And why did I buy it? First of all, I've always liked Benellis, just simply because they're much lighter. Benellis fit me real well, but the one thing I could not get myself to buy a Benelli is the price. I just cannot justify spending that kind of money for a gun, and so I've stayed away from it. And finally, Retay shows up with a very similar copy of the the Benelli Ethos. And as you know, the Ethos is about $1,900. Again, I'm not going to spend that kind of money. It's just not. I'm just not the market for Benelli, so I'm not going to touch it. Um, However, this is a good alternative. Prior to the Masai Mara, I had the Winchester SX3 12 gauge, 28 inch barrel, and I use the Carlson tubes. I actually really like their tubes. They pattern really well. I love this gun. Very reliable, very soft shooting for a gas gun. Only drawback is it tends to be heavy on the front end. So if you want to see, if I put it in the middle here, it tends to, it's heavy on the front end. And being that this is my hand that usually does most of the aiming, it does get tired. Throughout the day, my hands will get really tired. So I needed a lighter gun that I can switch off. Maybe start with this in the morning and switch off to a lighter gun in the afternoon. So this is the Masai Mara from Retay. It is a 26-inch barrel. I put a extended choke from True Lock. I usually shoot improved cylinder. Sometimes I'll even shoot skeet. Being that I hunt over pointing dogs, I don't really need to go any tighter than that. And especially if I shoot 3-inch shells, I really don't need, there's really no reason to go any tighter than that. And particularly in areas where I have to shoot steel, then that's when I put in the skeet choke, because I really needed to open up. Most of my shots are going to be 30-yard range, average 30, 40. 40 will probably be max. Every now and then I'll have to reach out and touch a few birds that are in the 60-yard range, but those are very rare. Most of the time, the dogs pin the birds down, and so the birds, when they flush, they're usually about 10, 15 yards away. And I have a pretty quick mount, and it's a very good fit. So it doesn't take me very long to get onto that bird. Early in my hunting career, I should say, I missed a lot of birds. And a friend of mine realized why I was missing a lot. I was just shooting too quick. And I needed to give some time for the bird to get out there and let the choke do its job. And so he taught me to just count up to 3 seconds. On 3, pull the trigger. And once I learned how to do that, it just seems like it was a much better hit rate. So for my review, I'm not going to go over all the intricate details of the gun. I think other people have done a very good job at that, so you can go and look at their reviews on the gun, the takedowns and all that stuff. I'm not going to go into that because, again, why repeat something that somebody has already done that and did a very good job at that? So I'm not going to get into that. What I will get into is how this gun performed in the field as it pertains to me, based on my experience. Again, I hunt a lot, pretty much every weekend. Starting in September, I'll chase rough grouse in northern Minnesota, and then towards the end of October is when I switch over to pheasants in Minnesota. This year I did make 2 trips over to South Dakota. Took this gun with me. Obviously I took the Winchester with me as well, and I also took the over-unders just in case. That's a lot of gun for one trip, but you never know. So I always have backups. I never did end up using the over-unders. It's been a while since I shot the over-unders, but I've switched mainly to these semis. So in my review today, you'll see I'll go over an issue that I ran into with the gun and how it was rectified, and my feedback on how the service went. And with that, I'll go into the video. First of all, I love the gun. It's nice and light. It shoots where you point it. So in that regards, it's very reliable. Um, first, I would say first 12 pheasants, not a single miss. Okay, so early season, uh, no issues. I hunted grouse with it, and I think, again, I took about 10 grouse this year with this with this gun, um, before I started missing the shots. But anyway, young birds, so it's easy shots. As the birds get more experience, being shot at a few times, they get a little bit smarter, so it becomes really more challenging. However, there is one issue with the gun, and that is, this year I normally don't shoot federal black clouds and prairie storms. I've had really good luck with canned shells, so I've stuck to the canned fast steel, and also the canned uh, um, metal, well, the fast steel and the diamond shots. So I've had really good luck with those, and those shells don't seem to kick as much. I've heard that those shells shoot a little bit dirty, but that's no issue for me because I clean my guns after every outing, whether I shoot one shot or 20 shots, 20 shells. I still clean the gun. Um, so I keep my guns in very, very good condition. However, with this gun, once the temperature dips below 30, I've had issues with this gun ejecting the federal prairie storm shells or the federal black clouds, and I just could not figure what it was. I switched it back to Kent fast steels, Winchester steel shots, no issues. I switched back to the federals. All of a sudden I started getting jams, and again the jams is because when it opens up after that shot, um, it doesn't completely come out, so the shell is still stuck about a quarter still stuck in the barrel where the crimp is. I called or emailed Retay, and what they said was it's they asked me to take a picture of the bolt, and if you can see the bolt and the shell catcher, um, take a picture. So I sent it to them. They came back and said that what I have, the bolt that came with my gun, is the first generation system. And so what they did is they sent me a replacement. This is the replacement, and in a little bit I will show you the picture between the two. And there's slightly different, but the bolt catcher right here is a little bit longer and sharper. It's not rounded. And so what they said was this should fix it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to duplicate the issue. Being right now it is 28 degrees here in Minnesota. So as you can see, it's 28 degrees, and I'm at a wildlife management area. Um, I'm going to take a couple shots with the old bolt and see if it jams, and then I'll put the new one in and test it and see if it jams. So that's kind of what I want to do today, and hopefully it jams, but if not, my last outing down in southwest Minnesota, it jammed almost every other shot. And so after one trip out like that, I just couldn't use the gun anymore. So I switched back to the Winchester SX3. No issues. With that gun, I've hunted in wind chill of minus 20 or maybe even colder, and never had any problems with ejection of those shells. So we'll see how it goes. So here we go. This is and what I have is a Prairie Storm 1 and 5/8, number 4, lead shots. So I'm going to do 3 shots and see if it hangs up. There you go. This one ejected, but it jammed. And it's 28 degrees. In preparation for this video, I left my gun in the case in the garage overnight so that it's cold. Normally, in a normal hunting trip, I would leave the gun in the truck because I have a vault, as you can see, in the gun, in the truck. And this is where I keep my guns cased during hunting trips. And I don't bring them into the hotel. I leave them there, and I just lock the truck. So that's the first jam. Looks like the shell ejected. We'll try it again. Another jam. Again, this time it ejected, but that's what I'm experiencing in the field. So 2 shots, 2 jams. We're gonna switch out the old bolt, and we're gonna put the new bolt in, and we'll try and see if that fixes the problem. Okay. So the old one has been taken out, and I don't know if you can tell, but the bolt, this is the old bolt that came with the gun. The new one is in, and this will be the first time I'm testing it. Again, I left the parts out in the garage overnight, and so at 28 degrees, I've changed it. It's now ready to go. 2 shells in there, and we're gonna see if it ejects and see if there's any jams. No jams, and it appears the issue is resolved. We're gonna do one more test. And it cleanly opens because it's empty. So looks like the issue is resolved. Just for the sake of while we're at it, we're going to test the black clouds. So those two were the Prairie Storm steel lead shots. Now we're going to do the black clouds. These are black clouds 3-inch 1450 FPS, 1 1/4. No jams. It appears the issue is resolved, and I'm also really happy that Retay was very responsive. I heard really good reviews done by Randy Wakeman, and I've also responded to his reviews of the gun, stating my issues that I had, and he recommended that I contact their support, and which I did, and they were very responsive. They actually gave me a phone number. I called them directly, and I got the issue here resolved very quickly. So I'm very impressed with their service and their support after the sale. And with that, I think that I'm pretty happy with it. No more jams, and you can tell this gun's been used mostly during the grouse season, and it's got dings on it already, but that's okay. It just means that the gun was used. Pretty guns that you buy pretty guns and you don't want to use them, that doesn't make any sense. So um, I'm happy. I'm a happy customer. So just for sanity's sake, I'm going to take 2 more shots of the Prairie Storm. Ejected just fine. So I think the issue's resolved. It really did kick. However, when there's a bird flying, you don't feel that kick. It's just when you shoot it out in the open like this, that's when you feel the kick. If there were anything I could change with this gun, as much as I liked it, I would have loved to have the bolt release button to be a little bit bigger. Here in Minnesota, it gets pretty cold, and so when I hunt pheasants, I have gloves on. I love the fact that I can unload the gun with the release here, but it's small, and the screen's pretty darn tough, and so it's harder to use this mechanism to unload. The second thing is the safety button. It's to me, it's kind of small. It's small, and it's a little bit hard to actually to manipulate, and so I would like it to be a little bit bigger and easier to operate. So those are the 2 things. Aside that, once we fixed the bolt, I think maybe what I'll do is I'll probably end up getting this tapped. I've called Retay already. They said the big bolt with the 3.5-inch version of the gun does not fit. So that's not an option. The only option I have is really to get an aftermarket enlarged bolt release and get it tapped by a gunsmith. Don't know if I want to do that or not, but we'll see. Again, the only other thing is the safety button is a little bit stiff to work, and it's a little bit small. But other than that, I'm perfectly happy with the gun. So if a Benelli ethos is too high of a price range, try this out. You might like it. I certainly did.